happy ending also. You'll take some questions.
I'd be delighted.
Any questions from the floor?
Please do that. I can't believe that no questions, that you don't have questions.
I have one.
Please. Just speak up so make sure the mic will pick it.
It seems like it's highly unlikely that Russia will ever accept the idea of, admit that the Holodomor is. And I'm teaching in Ukraine right now in Crimea. And I also wonder how many Ukrainians who are alive today, even though it's been officially acknowledged by Yushchenko, still a lot of Ukrainians who don't want to acknowledge it because maybe relatives or others were possibly...
They're afraid. Some of them afraid.
Is that a possible explanation for some of the reasons?
They're afraid. They're so scared. The Soviet Union tortured them so bad that they're afraid. Still today, when I was, the family is growing, young children, you couldn't tell to the child that was such a thing happen, because child maybe say something, the parents will be sent to Siberia. Now, the journalist, I was speaking today with the Helsinki committee before I came here, and he say politically, maybe later, but not now. Now Armenia and Rwanda and Holocaust accepted, but not now. I say Ukraine lost in 1 year all the people that perished from other countries. In 1 year, over 10 million people. Yushchenko says it's close to 20 million. In 1 year, and we still don't have acknowledgement. This is a criminal that we cannot get this acknowledgement that Ukraine went through these atrocities. This is the criminals, all the Nazis, they were brought to justice, but not Soviet commissars. Naturally, many died, but many still alive, and many immigrated.
Well, maybe have some power in some area. They just hiding the real names.
Yes, that's what is it.
See, and this is involved in history, right? Yes, we have a lot of person, his name Miller, but he's not. They changed name in 1938, they changed names, a lot of them. So maybe it's Moroz, maybe not.
Oh.
And this is because of fighting. It's not the people who not, understand and feel it, knowledge. This is people who fighting live in politics.
Oh, you mean now the many?
About now.
And they're in the government. They're in government.
Maybe.
No, not maybe, for sure, they're in the government.
Maybe, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, but, the genocide, the biggest genocide the Ukrainians suffer more than anyone, also was in Volga, where the Germans, at the time Katerina, which German queen by the marriage, she brought many Germans, give the land. Many Serbian people would come, because Ukraine was unpopulated one time, and they give the land to them. Please come to my country, and they give you the land. And Georgia, but less than Ukraine suffered the genocide. Ukraine really, because Ukrainian people, they fundamentally democratic by the nature people. And when the communists took over, they couldn't stand that. They were very vindictive with Ukrainian people. And actually, Ukrainian people would fight. If I come to your home, take away everything for you, you would fight me. Well, this is the same things. So another question that, you okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I apologize. I actually asked for you to identify yourself also because of your involvement in Ukraine also.
I'm Robert Zimmerman. I'm a Fulbright professor in Crimea.
Yeah.
Formerly from
University.
Crimea.
My
formerly,
second year there.
and formerly from the State Department, if I remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
was with State Department for 25 years, with the Agency for International Development and also State.
Yeah. I don't know.
I've come to love Ukraine, and
Yeah, wonderful.
I expect to spend the rest of my life over there. But
Yeah, that's great.
I worry about this problem.
Do you speak Ukrainian or?
I'm studying Russian right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Мой сердце сказал, I have to speak Ukrainian. So come
You're
June,
wonderful.
when I finish my second Fulbright, I will stay there.
Yeah.
From then on, I'm going to speak.
That's wonderful.
Ukrainian.
Thank you for taking interest in these
Great
people.
country, yeah.
Yeah, they're good people. They are good people, good-hearted people. You come to their home, what they have the less they share with you. But right now,
A lot of Russian who was just moved in Russia, from Russia to Crimea, and they Russian,
Right.
they moved their
Oh,
population.
yeah, they took over.
I have-
So where they tell you something about history
Yeah.
and everything, you have to understand why they tell you.
may I inject here something? When there was genocide in Ukraine, many people disappeared, died, dumped in mass graves, as I said before. At that time, Soviet Union forced people from Russia to move to Ukraine. They come to their home. Tomorrow you leaving. They wouldn't want it because they have their own household. No, we will give you in Ukraine chata and house and everything. Move. They were forced. Many families were forced that way. Many Russians that still remember that they were forced to go. From Western Ukraine, many Ukrainians were forced to Eastern Ukraine. Interchanges. This was done, yes. So you really don't...
And Tartar colleagues who were actually born in Uzbekistan.
Yeah, they were sent. Whole Tartar nation was sent to Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, and they were sent to the entire wartime. Somebody else, I can't remember. Chechnya.
Chechens were sent away.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and Crimean Tatars.
Yeah, that's true.
Crimea was originally the Russian territory, but it was, it was the one of the last enclaves of the Tatar, because there were 3 Tatar enclaves around Russia in the times of Ivan the Terrible.
Yeah.
So Ivan the Terrible conquered Kazan, and then Astrakhan was conquered, and then the last one was Crimea, which was conquered during Catherine the Great. And Potemkin became the governor of Crimea.
Yeah.
So Crimea was given to Ukraine as a gift by Nikita Khrushchev
That's right.
because of all the atrocities that were actually as a compensation to Ukraine for the atrocities that were committed on the territory of Ukraine during the Soviet time. It was because he was Ukrainian himself.
Yeah, but he was a murderer too.
Felt he was the murderer.
He contributed a lot.
Yeah, but he wanted, to pay Ukrainians with this piece of territory.
Well.
So after Crimea Tatars were deported in 1944, Ukrainians and Russians started to come to Crimea after Crimea was
No people.
no people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The same in Chechnya.
Yeah, I know. So this what was done in Ukraine when many people die and they come from Russia, from another places. They give them a home, just force them by force. I know many people in Kiev that live now. They were by force moved them to Ukraine. So really, exactly, maybe are 20 million people that perished because every village has a dead. So many people die everywhere. It's unbelievable.
I'd like to offer something that's interesting. Christina Kushner wrote an essay last August, What if Ukraine did not exist? And I took it and gave it to my students in Crimea.
Yeah.
And one group of students decided to do a study, and they asked the question, they did a poll, should Ukraine exist? Now think, this is in Crimea, right? And they interviewed 293 people. 66% of the people died. Only 16% said no, and 17% had no opinion. So even in Crimea, there is beginning to develop the idea that Ukraine as a nation, as a state, should exist. And I take that as a positive.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
Definitely a lot that's positive.
But lots of Moscow influence on people, intriguing in Ukraine, in Georgia.
Are playing many games.
Yeah, they never stop. It was evil country, and it always will be. Manipulation.
Eugenia, I have a question from online. No, you're not finished. You're not finished. I have a question from online from Roman Traska from Baltimore, Maryland. Thank you for speaking. You have an incredible story. I have two questions for you. What can we do to raise awareness about the Holodomor here in the United States? And does there exist a list of other survivors who are still alive? Is there an effort to capture their stories?
As I said it before, that right now, about a month ago, was a documentary done in Los Angeles. I was one of the first to be interviewed. Now they're trying to interview wherever they find the survivors, and they go into Ukraine and to interview their people. And as I said, that so this is. It is in process to be made in English language documentary. Now, what's the first question about that?
What can we do to raise awareness?
Raise awareness. I was today, before coming here, as I mentioned before, in Helsinki committee, and signed the books to these 3-4 gentlemen that I have met in Kiev. They were here, and I delivered my books today, signed for them, and I spoke with them in Kiev about this genocide, and today I was asking a question these people that were there, and why in the world, for with all the documentation, with all the witnesses, with all survivors, and still their genocide is not acknowledged. Why? Here, this gentleman answered to me. He said, due to political intrigues and everything. I said, this is not the answer to me. I want the Ukraine. I am in pain that Ukraine, with all that humans that perish, innocent people, and it's still not acknowledged. Still, I am very, very hurt, and I'm not going to stop. I will return to Los Angeles, and I'm going to be writing to every person of Congress. They have to accept it. It's enough of the manipulation. It's enough of neglecting the most important history of our civilization. We cannot ignore this. It's a high time that should be accepted as a tremendous destruction of Ukrainian people. That will do?
Well, it'll do.
Almost.
I would say Ms. Dallas is very modest. In Ukraine, at the memorial to the famine genocide memorial, she's standing here with Congressman Steny Hoyer from Maryland, Senator Cardin from Maryland, and Congressman McIntyre from North Carolina.
I have where is that? Oh, here.
So, do we have any other questions? Ken.
I'm Ken Passal with the Ukrainian American Environmental Association. You mentioned 2 or 3 times that the figure that you used for the Holodomor was 10 million dead. You also mentioned that President Yushchenko has cited the figure of 20 million.
Yeah.
There is a movie in development now called Holodomor the Movie, and in response to the development of that movie, one critic suggested that the number may be as low as 1.5 or 2 million dead.
Naturally. Very soon there will be none.
In some ways, it's kind of like the Holocaust.
Excuse me.
The question I have is, I've seen the numbers of 7, 8, 10 million many times, but I've never seen a documented source for those numbers. Is there some clear documentation, or is this just people's best guess?
You see, I'm going a little beginning. Jewish people, nobody believed them either. They worked very hard and they succeeded. It was acknowledged. Now, in Ukraine, archives were not destroyed on purpose, were not, but every village was dying, maybe, and was not kept, was not convenient for the communists to keep the amount of people that die. This is what, it's hidden, these things.
If I could add something, I believe it's the data that I've read and tried to understand has been, a lot of it is an extrapolation from census data, from in the Soviet that period, and that's where they come up with certain numbers.
I would like to, if you have 1 minute more time here, I was in Toronto in Congress for Genocide Committee, and it says here, the only time the U.S. Congress had come close to recognition the Holodomor genocide was when it passed the law recently authorizing the government of Ukraine to build a monument to the Holodomor on federal land in Washington, which was given to Ukraine. DC. This was sort of very indirect recognition. The U.S. government, Congress, has never overtly and directly declared the Holodomor as a genocide. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs most of the time say it did by using a bill that was only introduced but never passed. It is a real stretch, much too far a stretch, I think, to say that the USA Congress has declared the Holodomor genocide. The State Department and the White House, listen to this, have persuaded the Congress not to declare the Holodomor a genocide several times in the past, just as they are working very hard not to get the Congress not to declare the Armenian disaster around First World Genocide. I brought here...
Boris, you have a question, I saw.
I would like to have...
Boris Linsky from...
Boris Linsky, I represent the Washington branch of the Shevchenko Scientific Society, and simply, I wouldn't want to interrupt...
Eugenia Dallas.
Yes, it's a pleasure, by the way, to see
Thank you.
But I have an announcement about the Holodomor, perhaps for when the proceedings are...
No, please.
We are, our society, the Washington branch of the Shevchenko Scientific Society, is going to have a conference on the Holodomor on the 5th of April, and it will be held at the Ukrainian Embassy. We don't have the time yet because there were some events that occurred and the exact time, but we will announce it, including through the U.S.-Ukraine bulletin as to place, and but we'll have scholars who will be talking about the Holodomor from a historical and legal perhaps perspectives, reaction of the U.S. press, for example, to the Holodomor, and so forth, as well as Holodomor as it is reflected in Ukrainian literature. So I would like to at least give all of you a heads up about it and just keep track of drama and other announcements.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you need me as a witness, I will go to Timbuktu.
By the way, I would like to, as you were talking about the deportations and so forth, I had in my personal experience, this is, I used to work for the government, I'm retired now, but where there are figures from the Soviet times. I remember seeing data about the deportation of the Tatars from Crimea. It's by train, number of cars per train, number of people segregated by, sex, age,
all together.
Adults, children, time of departure, destination, and so forth.
Yeah.
So if people who are interested in it, you can find this kind of information. And I found that information when the Soviet Union was still alive, although not necessarily well. So it's available in various archives of republics, or former republics, say, as well as Russia now. There is a Pope writer who has just come to Washington. He and his wife are studying and working on the Holodomor. I got this DVD on February 8 or 7 in Kiev. Attended a 3-hour presentation by this gentleman and explained. I think you have the name. I can't remember it. But he's at Georgetown, and this person is someone that, and his wife, whom you all should have here and get to know. And this is a brand new DVD that goes beyond the 1983 film on the Holodomor. I think
Holodomor,
but it goes on. So these are two things I just happen to have with me. I don't know. I want to get that back. Certainly borrow it and get copies if you want to.
Great.
I would like, may I read something very fast to you? This is very what concerns genocide. For the past 2 years, the Toronto District School Board has been developing a genocide historical and contemporary implications for the grade 11. The course has been approved by the Ontario Ministry of Education. Toronto District School Board is in process of asking experts to write the curriculum. During the last 3 weeks, the TDSB, I don't know what this is, has been conducting teacher sessions and has notified them that the course will be available by September 2008. The teachers are supportive and eager to implement. The course comprises of 3 case studies: Armenian genocide, the Holocaust, and the Rwandan. There is no mention of the Holodomor. Here, what I brought to these educators, to the educators of Toronto District School Board, with all the documentation and the survivors and foreign witnesses out there, we should also be asking why in the God's name would anyone want to not acknowledge it is Holodomor genocide, and why? A plea to the educators concerning a Ukrainian Holodomor genocide Remembrance Day. Unfortunately, not everyone knows about truth of Ukrainian history because Soviet Union manipulate the history for their own convenience. We desperately need your acknowledgement, a day of remembrance for the estimated over 10 million innocent Ukrainians perished in 12 months who died a horrifying slow death from excruciating touch of starvation and unspeakable cruelty in 1932-33 during the famine, which was masterminded, organized and carried out by Soviet regime under Stalin. The Holodomor genocide inflicted a deep and lasting scar on the Ukrainian community throughout the world. I am of the few survivors still alive and hope to help the world remember the many survivors of the famine and their descendants, some of whom later immigrated to United States. The genocide was an attempt to crush the longing for freedom and to erase all aspiration for independent Ukrainian state. We must learn from our historical mistakes. We know that the United States stands for justice for all, and all the Holodomor genocide survivors, as well as those who were lost and not remember, will be free from this suppressed, little-known historical memory. I wrote a book in memory of my parents' family that were sent to Siberia never to return. I survived as a little girl, orphan of 5-6 years old, become a beggar, and in orphanages wind up. We beseech you to be the true national leaders that you are in telling and teaching the truth to the world before we'll be smudged in the history books that no one can read or remember. Survivor Eugenia Dallas. This is our history. It cannot be denied. How long this secret will be a secret? This is what I wrote. And I would encourage many other people to write. I have here all the emails if you would like to have, if you make a copies. I'd be delighted to give it to you.
With those words,
I'm finished.
I would like to conclude our session today, your presentation.
Thank you.
I welcome everyone to stay and to enjoy a little food and drink.
I'd be delighted. I'm hungry.
And on behalf of the foundation, I thank you, Eugenia, for your effort. And there's much work to be done in educating people. I think your next book may become The Sixth Life, One Woman, Six Lives. In 5
I want to make a film. That's what I want.
Thank you again.
And thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.